The NBA world as we knew it changed forever on February 1, 2025. In a move that no one saw coming, Luka Dončić was traded, arguably the most shocking trade of all time. Only 12 players in NBA history have ever been traded after earning a first-team All-NBA selection, and since 1980, it has happened just 4 times. But this trade deadline was unlike anything seen before, with a record-breaking 63 players swapping teams, including 8 All-Stars. With that in mind, let's take a look at some of the most stunning trades in NBA history, starting with one that took place exactly 17 years before the Luka Dončić bombshell, on February 1, 2008. 17 years before Doncic's shocking departure.
When Mitch Kupchak came to you and said, I can get you Pau Gasol for Kwame Brown, what did you say back?
No, you can't. But
the Lakers made waves by acquiring another European superstar, Pau Gasol. And just like Luka's trade, this move came completely out of the blue. It was a big surprise that, this happened. You know, it's definitely, huge. I remember there was something written or a rumor that Pau Gasol might be available, but it wasn't mainstream, said Mitch Kupchak, the Lakers general manager at the time. The Lakers worked in complete silence, making no noise until the deal was finalized. And when the trade was announced, it sent shockwaves across the NBA. Not only was it unexpected, nobody thought Memphis would part ways with their franchise player, but the return package for Gasol was laughable. In exchange for Pau, the Grizzlies received 2 first-round picks, Kwame Brown, one of the biggest busts in NBA history, rookie Javaris Crittenton.
Kwame Brown is gone. The city of angels, Hollywood, you should be celebrating. This man was a bona fide scrub.
Who had logged only 171 minutes of NBA play. Pau's younger brother, Mark Gasol, who had never played in the league at that point, and Aaron McKie, who was retired at the time. Yes, you read that right. Aaron McKie wasn't even an active player. In fact, he was coaching in Philadelphia when the Lakers called him and said, "Hey, how would you like to make another $1 million?" This trade was widely regarded as one of the biggest robberies in modern NBA history.
No disrespect whatsoever, but I'm sorry to tell everybody the truth. He has no game whatsoever, plays no defense, doesn't have the heart, the passion, or anything that comes with it. And you're asking me whether they gave up too much? Please, the Los Angeles Lakers knew exactly what they were doing. They should be celebrating right now, and Kobe Bryant should not be saying a word.
The reaction around the league? Pure outrage. San Antonio Spurs head coach Greg Popovich was so appalled by the trade that he called for the NBA to introduce new trade regulations. There should be a trade committee that can scratch all trades that make no sense. I just wish I had been on a committee that oversees NBA trades. I'd like to elect myself to that committee. I would have voted no to the LA trade, Popovich stated. The impact was immediate. Gasol transformed the Lakers overnight, leading them to a 22-5 run to close the season. The Lakers went on to reach 3 consecutive NBA Finals, winning 2 championships, and Gasol eventually had his jersey retired by the franchise. In hindsight, the trade worked out for both teams as Mark Gasol became a cornerstone of the Grizzlies and arguably the best player in their history. But at the time, this trade was nothing short of mind-blowing. Another baffling trade involving a star power forward took place in 1995 when Dennis Rodman was sent to the Chicago Bulls. This deal wasn't just shocking because the return for Rodman was minimal, but also because many Bulls players, especially Scottie Pippen, absolutely despised him. Rodman had joined the Spurs in 1993, and during his 2 seasons in San Antonio, his numbers were as impressive as ever. The Worm was an All-NBA defender and the league's premier rebounder, averaging 17 boards per game. However, calling him controversial would be an understatement. During the 1994 season alone, Rodman was fined a total of $32,500 across 4 separate incidents and was suspended 3 times. He clashed with coaches, teammates, and even opponents, including headbutting Bulls forward Stacey King. Rodman's antics only escalated. In the first preseason game of the 1995 season, he got ejected and hurled a bag of ice at Spurs head coach Bob Hill. He later suffered a separated shoulder from a motorcycle accident, missed multiple games, and continued to be suspended for disciplinary reasons. But things hit rock bottom in the 1995 playoffs. In Game 3 of San Antonio's second-round series against the Lakers, Rodman removed his shoes mid-game and sat by the training table. He refused to join team huddles, simply watching the game as a spectator. In response, head coach Bob Hill benched him for the rest of the game, and Spurs GM Greg Popovich suspended him for Game 4. Despite the Spurs winning the series and Rodman averaging 15 rebounds per game in the conference finals, his days in San Antonio were numbered. In fact, his NBA career seemed in jeopardy. Nobody wanted to deal with him. Then came the Chicago Bulls, a team fresh off losing to Shaquille O'Neal's Orlando Magic in the 1995 playoffs. Bulls GM Jerry Krause knew they desperately needed rebounding and defensive presence. More importantly, he knew that if anyone could handle Rodman's volatile personality, it was the Zen master, Phil Jackson, and the greatest player in the world, Michael Jordan. Desperate for money and eager to team up with Michael Jordan, Dennis Rodman took the leap. On October 3, 1995, he was traded to the Chicago Bulls in exchange for Will Perdue, a backup center who averaged just 4 points per game. That was it. No additional players, no draft picks, no cash considerations. It was a shockingly lopsided deal, considering Rodman had been an All-NBA player in 1995. But because Rodman himself was considered borderline crazy, the trade was finalized. And the rest, as they say, is history. Rodman led the NBA in rebounding for the next 3 seasons and played an instrumental role in securing 3 consecutive championships for one of the greatest teams of all time. Yet, as baffling as the Rodman trade was in terms of return value, it still doesn't compare to an even more shocking swap, one that involved 2 elite point guards in the prime of their careers. In 2001, the Phoenix Suns stunned the basketball world by trading Jason Kidd for Stephen Marbury. Kidd had just wrapped up one of his best seasons, averaging 16.9 points, a league-leading 9.8 assists, and 2.2 steals per game, earning him an All-NBA nod. So why did the Suns part ways with their star playmaker? For one, Kidd's off-court troubles, specifically his arrest for domestic violence, raised concerns. Additionally, Phoenix genuinely believed Marbury was the superior player. At just 23 years old, he was 4 years younger than Kidd and a more dynamic scorer, averaging 23.9 points and 7.6 assists per game. He had already made the All-NBA third team in 2000 and was named an All-Star in 2001. The Suns were convinced his best years were ahead. They were wrong. While Marbury put up solid numbers in Phoenix, averaging 21 points and 8 assists per game with another All-Star selection, he lacked Kidd's leadership and defensive prowess. The Suns failed to win a single playoff series during his tenure. Meanwhile, Kidd transformed the New Jersey Nets into title contenders, leading them to back-to-back NBA Finals appearances. In hindsight, the Suns got fleeced. The Brooklyn Nets went all in for an immediate championship run, sending a treasure trove of assets to the Boston Celtics in exchange for Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, and Jason Terry. The price? 5 players, 3 first-round picks, and a pick swap. On paper, it looked like a power move. In reality, it was a disaster.
Nets made a bold step in their pursuit of a championship, sending a host of assets to Boston for a package that centered on Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett.
At the time of the trade, Pierce, Garnett, and Terry had a combined age of 105. The Celtics front office, led by Danny Ainge, masterfully leveraged Brooklyn's desperation. While the Nets flamed out after just 1 playoff series win in 2014, the Celtics used Brooklyn's picks to draft Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, cornerstones of their eventual resurgence into a powerhouse. Of course, no discussion of shocking trades is complete without mentioning the ultimate NBA trendsetter, Wilt Chamberlain. Back in an era when superstar trades were virtually unheard of, Chamberlain found himself traded not once but twice.
Pierce departed this past summer, and in the wake of yesterday's trading deadline, Garnett is no longer a Net either.
The first bombshell dropped in 1965. Wilt, averaging an absurd 39 points and 23 rebounds per game, was the face of the San Francisco Warriors. But financial woes loomed large. The franchise had recently relocated from Philadelphia, and Wilt's massive salary outweighed ticket sales. Struggling with an 11-33 record, the Warriors had no choice but to part ways with their biggest star. In a move that sent shockwaves across the league, Chamberlain was traded to the newly formed Philadelphia 76ers for $150,000 and a package of role players.
Are you happy or sad about it? Mixed emotions. I used to be like, Tony better leaving my heart here in San Francisco because I fell in love with the city.
The city welcomed him back with open arms, and Wilt finally tasted championship glory in 1967. However, after falling short in 1968, he did the unthinkable. He orchestrated his own trade. With no free agency in place, player movement was rare, but Wilt, wielding unprecedented leverage, threatened to either retire or jump to the ABA unless the 76ers traded him to the team of his choosing. Philadelphia had no choice but to comply. The result? Chamberlain was dealt to the Los Angeles Lakers for a measly return of Darrell Imhoff, Archie Clark, and Jerry Chambers. Fast forward 21 years, and history repeated itself. In 1996, the best center in the NBA, Shaquille O'Neal, walked away from the Orlando Magic in free agency, signing a then-record $120 million deal with the Lakers.
That's maybe the best deal, maybe the best offer, and I took it.
Shaq and Kobe Bryant quickly formed a dynasty, winning 3 straight championships. But by 2004, their relationship had completely deteriorated. After a humiliating finals loss to the Detroit Pistons, Kobe made his stance crystal clear. "I ain't playing with that mother asterisk ever again." Kobe was so serious that he and his family even started scouting homes in Chicago.
For homes. We're actually looking for homes in Chicago. Researching schools, places to live.
So that was true, you were going to go to the Bulls?
Yeah.
Preparing for a potential move to the Bulls. Then, out of nowhere, the Lakers stunned the NBA with a blockbuster trade. Shaq was shipped to the Miami Heat in exchange for Lamar Odom, Karen Butler, Brian Grant, and a future first-round pick. The trade shook the league to its core, but in the end, it worked out for both sides. And just like Kobe, who refused to be the Robin to Shaq's Batman, another all-star guard felt the same way. After 3 consecutive trips to the NBA Finals and just 1 championship, Kyrie Irving decided he no longer wanted to play alongside LeBron James. While their relationship wasn't as fiery as Shaq and Kobe's, Kyrie wanted to be the undisputed leader of his own team. So, in the summer of 2017, Irving shocked the basketball world by requesting a trade.
If you're Kyrie Irving, you may want to be out promoting LeBron's shadow, but it's more important to get your shine on the biggest stage under the brightest lights.
If you're Kyrie Irving, stepping out from LeBron's shadow is one thing, but leaving a dynasty-level team for the unknown is another. And before anyone could even process the news, the deal was done. Irving was sent to Boston in exchange for another all-star guard, Isaiah Thomas, along with Jay Crowder and Ant Zizic. At first glance, it looked like the Celtics pulled off a highway robbery. Thomas was battling injuries and never returned to his former self, leaving Cleveland with pennies on the dollar.
Your thoughts on Kyrie Irving?
He sucks.
But in the end, the trade worked for neither side, as Kyrie's tenure in Boston ended in disappointment. Speaking of costly mistakes, one of the worst financial decisions in NBA history destroyed what could have been a dynasty. Just 4 days before the 2012-13 regular season, everything seemed perfect in Oklahoma City. Despite their finals loss in 2012, they had the best young core in the league, or so they thought. Then came the Wood bomb that shattered it all. James Harden was suddenly traded to the Houston Rockets. Harden still had a year left on his rookie deal, and the Thunder offered him a $55 million extension, just $4.5 million shy of the max he wanted. The front office expected Harden to take a discount, just as Durant and Westbrook had, but Harden refused.
They didn't want to give Harden the max. Their position was everyone who's re-signed here has sacrificed a little something, even Durant, even Russell Westbrook, so they were looking for Harden to be willing to take a little less than the max.
Rather than risk a disgruntled player and the looming luxury tax, the Thunder made Harden available for trade. The Rockets wasted no time, acquiring him for what now seems like pocket change.
Thunder general manager Sam Presti, one of the best in the biz. His decisions rarely questioned by Thunder fans, but this one has been, and no doubt will continue to be.
Harden was still under contract. They could have waited, but instead, they dismantled a potential dynasty over $4 million. This moment marked the beginning of the end for the Durant-Westbrook era in OKC. Fast forward 7 years, and another seismic trade rocked the Thunder. This time, Russell Westbrook had a new co-star in Paul George. Although they suffered back-to-back first-round exits, their chemistry was undeniable. That's why no one saw what was coming next. The biggest domino of 2019 free agency, Kawhi Leonard, kept the entire league in suspense. Free agency opened on June 30th, yet by July 6th, Kawhi still hadn't chosen between staying in Toronto or moving to LA. His hesitation paralyzed the league, with teams waiting for his decision to shape their own moves. Then, out of nowhere, the bombshell dropped. a protected first-rounder, 2 pick swaps promising young guard Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Danilo Gallinari. It was the most massive draft haul ever traded for a single player. And yet, as staggering as that trade was, it pales in comparison to what happened on February 1, 2025.
What did the Clippers do so right that convinced Kawhi Leonard to sign with them?
When Shams Charania broke the news that Luka Dončić had been traded, fans thought it was a hoax. This deal didn't just come out of nowhere, it blindsided the entire league. This is Luka Dončić we're talking about. A 25-year-old generational talent, a 5-time first-team All-NBA selection, and the reigning scoring champion. He had just led the Mavericks to the finals. He was supposed to be their franchise cornerstone, the next Dirk Nowitzki, destined to get a statue in Dallas. And
First-round picks, 4 unprotected future first-round picks, a protected future first-round pick, 2 pick swaps, and outstanding rookie point guard Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Danilo Gallinari.
this is the same NBA where Rudy Gobert was traded for 5 firsts and where Mikal Bridges commanded 5 firsts and a pick swap. And yet Luka, one of the greatest young players in history, was dealt for a fraction of that. Mavs GM Nico Harrison seemed to think so, reportedly balking at Luka's future contract demands. Because, Luka doesn't have a six-pack. To trade a player like Dončić is borderline insanity, but to do it without a trade request, without any leaks, without anyone, including agents or insiders, even knowing, that makes it the most shocking trade in NBA history. This deal will be talked about for decades. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this, we've got another video lined up for you right here.